Welcome dear class 8 students. Today we are going to start with a new topic, that is chapter 8, India after independence. And the subtopics that I'm going to explain is about how India took a new advancement in region, in language, and also how India have improved its lifestyles comparing to the medieval and ancient times. Now, if you remember in the previous classes, I have explained to you about the revolt of 1857, and I've also explained to you how India has struggled under the control of many foreign countries. However, later on, India got independence on 15th of August 1947. So ever since that day, so many changes came up, and also India had to set up so many new offices as well as so many new rules and regulations in order to deal with the social problems. We all know that in India we have so many states and so many union territories, and all these states and union territories have different languages, they have different culture as well as religion, and even from the physical appearance also they look different. So there are too many clashes among them. So in order to bring peace among the society, in order to do something good for this country so that the people can live in peace and in unity, the government was set up and they have started setting up offices. They have brought up constitution, which I'm going to explain to you in the later subtopic. And with that, India has been living in peace, though there are so many distinctions and there are so many differences among the people. All right, so I will begin with the national and the regional developments. So in India, when we look at India now, we see that there are so many advancements, whether it's in education, whether it's in technology, and all these advancements has taken place with as the year has passed on, right? So earlier it was not like that. India was different. Even the language was, even the official language was different. Now most of the people use English as well as Hindi. However, those days people mostly went for Urdu and Sanskrit, and they were also people, even the schools were not existing those days. There were gurus and gurujis who were the teachers, and also the education was totally different from the present generation. But as India got independence, they also got influence from the other country, and it also changed the educational norms, all right? Now coming to the first one, that is the refugee problem. So this year on August, India has celebrated 73 years of independence. So before that, India had to go through a lot of problems because there were Maharajas, there were Nawabs who were ruling over the Indian states, and there were over 500 princely states. So right after independence, it was so difficult to deal with all these princely states because they all had their different demands. Some of them were asking for a separate state. They didn't want to be a part of India, while some of them wanted to be a part of India. So many Maharajas and the Nawabs, who are the rulers, so they wanted they demanded the Indian government as per their own will, as whatever they wanted, they demanded from the Indian government. However, it was not possible to give a separate state to all those 500 princely states, right? So India, what they did, they brought all these princely states together, and then only separate states was given to certain states. Like for example, Andhra Pradesh, they were given a separate state. Then Maharashtra became a separate state, whereas Maharashtra and Gujarat was one state earlier, but they asked for a separate state just because they have different language and they have different culture, so they had to be given separate states. So likewise, the Indian government, they looked at the matter, and then only all these separate states was formed. Now these refugees, so who were the refugees? So during the in Indian independence of 1947, so many people changed their place, so many changed their settlement. Like for example, the people who were living in Kashmir, they came to India. because they favored India. Then those people who were living in India, they also left India, and then they went and settled in Kashmir. So these refugees, when they first shifted their place, it was so difficult for them to manage their daily lives because they did not have homes, there was no proper food for them, there was no shelter, and so many people, thousands and hundreds of people lived in one plot of land in a refugee camps. So the government of India, they decided to give relief to these people, and they set up some colonies for them, they built houses for them, and slowly, gradually, there was progress. All right. So when we look at those times where Indians, where most of them were refugees, where I told you that there was a partition of the Pakistan and India. So that time, so many refugees were there. So when we look at those times where so many refugees were struggling, and now when we look at India and Pakistan, we see that so many changes has taken up, right? So with that, we come to know that with the passing of age, with the phase of time, there was a lot of advancement in the field of education, technology, and so on, right? Now coming to the next one, that is the princely states. As I said that there were over 500 princely states, so the Indian government could not give states, separate states to all these 500 small states. So what they did, they combined it together, and then only they divided it into states and union territories. Now of all these princely states, one was Junagadh. Junagadh was a state in Kathiawar, and they were asking for a separate state. So it was not possible, and that time the ruler of the Junagadh was a Nawab. So he wanted to go away from India. They wanted to join Pakistan. However, the people in the state, they wanted to join India. So there was a different decision among them. So what the Indian government did, they sent some army to Junagadh, and then Junagadh came under the control of India. So Junagadh now, it has become a part of India. Similarly with Hyderabad. So the Nawab of Hyderabad, the Nizam of Hyderabad, he also wanted to make Hyderabad a separate state, a separate country. And it was not possible because the Indian government did not want to lose any of the Indian states, because earlier also there were so many clashes among the Indian states. There was no unity among the Indian states. That is why it was very easy for the foreign countries to come and annex the Indian states, right? So this time the Indian government has decided to unify all the Indian states and keep them under the control, so that there will be no more annexations from the other countries. Okay, annexation is taking the land by force, by defeating one country, right? So Indian government wanted to stop that. So their main aim was to unify all the Indian states, so that in the future generations there will be no such annexation from any other countries. So in that way, the Indian government, again, they sent some armies towards Hyderabad, and Hyderabad came under the control of India. So that is how Hyderabad became one of the recognized state of India, right? So coming to Kashmir, so even Kashmir has been a problem for India till now, because half part of the Kashmir touches the border of Pakistan, whereas half part of the Kashmir touches the border of India. So that time Maharaja Hari Singh, he was the ruler of Kashmir, and most of the people, most of the Muslim communities were under his control. However, there was a Nawab, there was half part of Kashmir which was under the Pakistan, right? And the Pathans, it was under the control of the Pathans who are from Pakistan. So in order to bring peace among them, it has still been a very big problem for India. India is not able to bring peace among these two states. So there was a particular line called the line of control, where it is a border, and every time the United Nations try to bring peace among this border, two countries, that is Pakistan and India, by bringing this line of control, that border, as their issue. All right. So it is mostly now it is mostly dealt by the United Nations, so that there can be peace among India and Pakistan. So in 1947, what happened was some of the people who were some of the citizens of India, they shifted to Pakistan, and some of them they shifted to India. So there was an exchange, as I mentioned, about the refugees, right? So after that, there has been a discussion. The United Nations came, and the United Nations declared peace among these two countries, and now they are sharing their separate country. However, in certain times, whenever there is land dispute, again the United Nations come in and try to settle the dispute. All right. So coming to the demand for the new states, that is the next subtopic. So here in the demand for the new states, why different states have asked for a different state, different states have asked for a separate country or a separate state away from India, is because they thought that they could not unify with Indian, because the Indians have different languages, they have different religion. Some of them are Buddhists, some of them are Hindus, while some Jains, and while Sikhisms. So in order to have a separate state, in order to have a peaceful state, they felt that since they have different language, since they have different religion, it will be much better for them if they separate themselves from India completely. So many states were asking for a separate country. However, only few of them were able to declare themselves as a separate state, like for example the Myanmar, Bangladesh, and also Nepal. They went about and formed another country. However, most of the princely states were under the control of India. So for that, the constitution came into being. So now this constitution had to be set up, because in India there were too many distinctions, and there were too many differences. So in order to deal with all these people, the constitution was set up. And the constitution was started from 1946 to 1949, and there was a constituent meeting where the president was B.R. Ambedkar. Sorry, the chairman of this constituent assembly was B.R. Ambedkar. They had a sitting, and they started the discussion. So in this discussion, what they did was they made separate guidelines for the tribal people, separate guidelines for the caste people, and also separate guidelines for the backward classes. So in order to bring peace among different religions, they also made India a secular state where no religion will discriminate another religion. So the Hindus are not supposed to discriminate the Christians, whereas the Buddhists are not supposed to discriminate the Muslims, the Islam. So in order to bring peace among these different religions, secular came into being, then sovereign came, then followed by republic. So with the help of this constitution, India is sharing a peaceful relation, and whenever there is any dispute among different religions or different region, then the constitution comes up following all those articles which comes under the constitution. They follow those articles, and then these matters are settled. Okay. Now, one of the great achievements of this constitution was the universal adult franchise. So India has been following a pattern where if the father is the ruler of a state, then the son becomes the ruler of the state, followed by the grandson. And no other people got the opportunity to rule the Indian states, right? However, when the constitution came, because of the universal adult franchise, the citizens of India were able to express their opinions, and they got the right to choose their leaders. So that was a great achievement according to the Indian constitution. Now, what they do in the universal adult franchise is that anybody who attains the age of 18 years and above has the right to choose their leader. Okay, so if you also turn 18 years, then you can also cast your vote. So you can choose your leader, you can express your opinion, because you also you have turned up mature enough that you can understand what is good for the country, so you can cast your vote. So that was universal adult franchise. Okay, then another good achievement about this constitution was that there was equality among the citizens. So earlier there was a lot of difference between a man and a woman, so there was gender inequality. However, when the constitution came, there was gender equality, equal pay for equal work came up, then even the women were allowed to go for further education. Even the women also got the opportunity to work in the government school, government offices. So with the help of this equality, which comes under the constitution, India is able to maintain peace among its citizens. Okay, so that is another achievement. Now, apart from these achievements, there were some other social norms which were removed, which were eradicated from the society, and that was untouchability. Now, the caste system is still prevalent in most of the Indian states and districts. However, in most of the cases, this untouchability is not prevalent anymore, because earlier these untouchables are not allowed to go and visit the public places. They are not even allowed to go to the temples or fetch water from the public wells. But now these untouchables can also get education along with the higher caste in any schools or colleges or any institutions, and they can also visit the public places. In fact, there has been certain seats which are reserved for the untouchables, so they can also get opportunities, equal opportunities along with the other citizens. Okay, and the Constituent Assembly has been divided into 3 lists, that is the union list, the concurrent list, and the state list. So this union list deals with taxes, defense, and foreign affairs, whereas the state list deals with the education, the healthcare, etc. And the concurrent list deals with agriculture and forest. Okay, so these 3 lists, they work separately with their own, along with their own officials. All right. Now, the next main problem that the Indians had faced was the national language. So the Indians, earlier what happened was, I told you that there was Sanskrit and Urdu, which were considered as the main languages of India. However, when the Britishers came to India, English was used, and some of the Indians felt that it will be a discrimination for them if they apply English language as their official language, whereas some of the reformers, some of the freedom fighters, they felt that English has to be applied. So likewise, there were some discussions among them. However, at the end, Hindi and English was made the official language. However, for most of the Indian states, Hindi is considered as the main language. All right. And in India, we have altogether 22 recognized languages, and all these languages are also used in institutions, and the students can also opt for these languages as per their choices without any discriminations, and that all comes under secularism. All right. So in this lesson, I've explained to you about the refugees, the princely states. I've also explained to you about what are the advancements that have come up in the Indian states right after the independence. And I've also explained to you about the constitution. Now in the next class, I'm going to continue with the same topic with the remaining subtopics. Thank you so much.